Ethan Cole never believed betrayal would arrive so quietly. There was no shouting, no warning, no dramatic confrontation. It came as a soft vibration on his phone at 2:17 a.m., cutting through the silence of his dark apartment. He had been half asleep, drifting between thoughts, when the screen lit up. One message, then another, then a thread that was never meant for his eyes. He sat up slowly, the blanket sliding to the floor, his heart strangely calm as his thumb. Scrolled. Screenshots filled the screen, emails, contracts, private messages between people he recognized all too well. Marcus Hale's name appeared again and again. His business partner, his closest friend, the man Ethan had trusted without question for more than a decade. Each message carried a quiet cruelty, plans discussed in secrecy, deals signed without Ethan's knowledge, promises made to investors that pushed Ethan out of the picture. There was no insult, no anger in the words. That hurt the most. Marcus spoke of Ethan as a problem to be solved, a slow weight holding the company back. By the time Ethan reached the end, his hands were cold. He didn't shout, he didn't throw the phone. He just stared at the wall as the truth settled in. The company they had built from nothing, the late nights, the shared failures, the victories celebrated over cheap food, was already gone. Legally transferred, cleanly executed. Marcus hadn't broken the law. He had only broken trust. Morning arrived without mercy. Sunlight slipped through the blinds, touching framed photos on the wall. Ethan barely noticed. He showered, dressed, and left the apartment as if following a script written by habit. The city moved around him, busy and loud, unaware that something inside him had cracked. At the office, the air felt different. People avoided his eyes. Conversations stopped when he walked past. By noon, it was official. The board meeting was short. Polite words were used. Marcus wasn't there. He didn't need to be. Ethan walked, out with a cardboard box and a smile that fooled no one. By evening, he was back home, sitting alone at the kitchen table. The apartment felt larger, emptier. He replayed memories he once treasured. The day he met Marcus, the first contract they signed together, the nights they stayed up planning the future, promising they would always protect what they built. He wondered when those promises had lost their meaning. Anger came late, creeping in like a shadow. First, there was only confusion. How could someone justify this? How could Marcus look at him for years, shake his hand, call him brother, and still plan his removal so carefully? Ethan picked up his phone, opened Marcus's contact, then closed it again. There would be no confrontation. Not yet. Words felt useless. He needed to understand the betrayal fully before facing it. Days passed fast and slow at the same time. Ethan stopped checking emails. He ignored calls from colleagues who didn't know what to say. Instead, he walked the city, letting the noise drown his thoughts. But no matter where he went, the questions followed. Was I blind? Was I weak? Did I deserve this? At night, sleep refused to come. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying moments with new meaning. A sudden silence when he entered a room. Meetings rescheduled without explanation. Compliments that now sounded rehearsed. The signs had been there. He just trusted too deeply to see them. On the fifth night, the anger finally surfaced fully. It burned hot and sharp, pushing aside the numbness. Ethan sat up in bed, his jaw tight, his hands clenched. Marcus had taken more than a company. He had taken Ethan's sense of safety, his belief that loyalty mattered. That was when revenge first crossed his mind, not as violence, not as chaos, but as balance. Ethan knew the system. He had helped build it. He understood contracts, public image, investor fear. Marcus's success stood on a foundation of careful lies and borrowed credibility. With the right move, the truth could be exposed. Slowly, precisely. The thought scared him and comforted him. The next morning, Ethan began to observe instead of react. He followed the news, reading every article that praised Marcus's leadership. He watched interviews where Marcus spoke of vision and hard choices. He noticed how easily Marcus wore confidence, how natural it seemed for him to stand alone in the spotlight. That confidence felt like an insult. Yet beneath the anger, another feeling grew, something heavier: loss. Ethan wasn't just mourning a business. He was mourning a friendship he believed was real. That realization cut deeper than any financial damage. He returned to the apartment one evening and found an old notebook tucked into a drawer. Inside were early plans for the company, written in both their handwriting, ideas scribbled late at night, jokes in the margins, promises of shared success. Ethan closed the notebook slowly. Marcus must have convinced himself this was necessary. That thought lingered. People didn't see themselves as villains. They created reasons, stories, justifications that allowed them to sleep at night. Understanding didn't ease the pain, but it sharpened Ethan's focus. By the end of the week, grief had turned into resolve. Ethan no longer felt lost. He felt wronged. And wrongs, he believed, demanded response. But even as the desire for payback grew, doubt followed close behind. What would revenge actually give him? Satisfaction or a deeper emptiness? He didn't know yet. All he knew was that the betrayal had changed him. Trust no longer came easily. Silence felt safer than conversation. And the idea of walking away without consequence felt unbearable. As Ethan stood at the window watching the city lights flicker, on a single thought settled in his mind, clear and steady. Marcus had taken something precious, and Ethan had not yet decided what it would cost to take something back. Ethan Cole stopped living in the past and started watching the present. Every morning began the same way: coffee untouched, phone in hand, news alerts, business updates, interviews. Marcus Hale's name appeared everywhere now, wrapped in praise and confidence. Ethan studied each word carefully, not with jealousy, but with focus. He wasn't angry anymore. Anger wasted energy. What he felt now was sharp awareness. He learned Marcus's routine, the charity events he attended, the partners he praised publicly and pressured privately, the way he spoke about loyalty while rewarding silence. Marcus had become careful, but success had made him comfortable. Comfortable people always left cracks. Ethan took notes, not in rage, but in order. He began reconnecting with old contacts quietly, former employees, advisors who had stepped away, investors who felt pushed aside. He never spoke badly about Marcus. He asked questions instead, listened more than he talked. Patterns formed quickly. Marcus's rise hadn't been clean. It had only been hidden. At night, Ethan sat alone, the city humming outside his window. He replayed conversations, weighing choices. Revenge was no longer an idea. It was a path with many turns. Each turn had consequences. Some plans were simple: release documents, expose timelines, let public opinion do the damage. Others were slower: legal pressure, investor doubt, strategic silence followed by truth. Ethan knew how fragile reputation could be when trust cracked. Yet every plan ended the same way in his mind, with Marcus falling. That image gave Ethan a sense of control. But it also disturbed him. Sleep became lighter. Dreams grew restless. He often woke before dawn, his thoughts already racing. He wasn't just planning revenge. He was becoming someone else, more guarded, less forgiving. He noticed it in small moments: how he judged strangers quickly, how patience felt like weakness. One evening, Ethan met Lena, a former analyst from the company, at a quiet cafe. She had left months before the takeover. Her hands shook slightly as she stirred her drink. "I thought I was imagining things," she said. "Meetings I wasn't invited to. Decisions already made. Ethan nodded. Why didn't you say anything? She gave a sad smile. Because no one wants to believe betrayal while it's happening. Her words stayed with him long after they parted. Marcus, meanwhile, seemed untouched. He expanded the company, spoke about growth, smiled easily. In his world, Ethan had become a closed chapter, a necessary loss. Marcus believed he had done what had to be done. In his eyes, leadership meant choosing progress over sentiment. That belief angered Ethan more than the betrayal itself. Still, doubt crept in. What if revenge didn't bring peace? What if exposing Marcus destroyed more lives than it fixed? Employees, families, people who had nothing to do with the betrayal. Ethan wrestled with these thoughts daily. He told himself that truth wasn't cruelty, but timing could be. One night, while reviewing files, Ethan stopped and leaned back in his chair. His reflection stared back from the dark, screen eyes tired, face tense. He barely recognized himself. The man who once believed in partnership now measured value. In leverage, he remembered a time when success felt shared, when trust made work lighter. That memory hurt more than anger ever had. Still, the wound demanded response. Weeks passed. Ethan gathered enough information to end Marcus's rise with a single move. Everything was documented, verified, legal. The choice was no longer about possibility. It was about decision. The closer he came, the heavier it felt. Ethan attended one of Marcus's public talks, sitting quietly in the back. Marcus spoke about resilience, about hard choices leaders must make. The audience applauded. Ethan watched Marcus's face closely. There was no guilt there. It's only certainty. That certainty terrified him. Marcus truly believed he was right. Ethan left before the applause ended. That night, he opened his laptop and prepared the final steps. One message, one release, the truth would spread fast. Marcus would have no time to explain, no space to hide. Ethan's finger hovered over the keyboard. He felt no excitement, no satisfaction, only a deep, aching question. Was this justice or? Was it surrendering to the same cold logic that had betrayed him? The answer didn't come easily. Ethan closed the laptop without sending anything. For the first time since the betrayal, he allowed himself to sit with uncertainty. Revenge promised closure, but it also promised permanence. Once done, it could not be undone. Outside, the city lights flickered. Life moved forward, unaware of the quiet battle being fought in one man's mind. Ethan knew one thing for certain. The plan was ready. What remained uncertain was whether carrying it out would finally free him, or bind him forever to the moment Marcus had chosen ambition over loyalty. Ethan woke before dawn with a clear mind and a heavy chest. The decision he had delayed now waited for him, quiet and patient. The files were ready. The proof was solid. One action would change everything. He stood by the window as the sky slowly lightened, watching the city stretch awake. This was the last calm moment before the storm, whether he chose to release it or let it pass. He showered, dressed, and sat at the desk. The laptop felt heavier than usual when he opened it. The document stared back, clean and organized, telling a story that could not be argued away. It showed the hidden meetings, the rushed approvals, the careful steps taken to push him out. No insults, no emotion, just facts. It's the kind that ended careers. Ethan read it once more, fast and focused. His breath stayed steady. He was not angry, he was ready. A message notification appeared. An invitation to a public panel discussion later that day. Marcus would be there. Ethan stared at the screen, then closed the file. He decided to go. The hall was bright and crowded. Cameras lined the walls. Marcus stood on stage confident, calm, speaking about leadership and vision. Ethan watched from the side, unseen. He noticed small details, careful pauses, the practiced smile, the way Marcus avoided specifics while sounding certain. The audience listened closely. They believed him. During the questions, someone asked about trust in business partnerships. Marcus answered smoothly. He spoke of hard truths, of moving forward when others could not. He never used Ethan's name. He didn't need to. The story was already set in his favor. Ethan felt the weight lift and settle at the same time. This was the moment. He could walk out, release the truth, and watch the world change its mind by morning. Instead, he waited. After the event, the crowd thinned. Marcus stepped away from the stage, phone in hand. He looked older up close, tired but determined. Ethan approached before doubt could stop him. "Marcus," Ethan said. Marcus turned. Surprised, then careful. "Ethan, I didn't expect to see you." "No," Ethan said. "You planned well." They stood a few steps apart. No raised voices, no anger. Just distance. "You took what we built," Ethan said. Marcus met his eyes. "I took what needed direction. You decided that alone." Marcus paused. "You hesitated." "I couldn't." Ethan nodded. The answer hurt, but it was honest. Marcus believed it. That belief had guided every choice. In Marcus's mind, this was not betrayal. It was necessity. "I have everything," Ethan said quietly. "Proof enough to end this." Marcus's face tightened for the first time. "Then why are you here?" Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked around the emptying hall. The quiet space after applause faded. "Because I wanted to see if you understood what you did." Marcus exhaled slowly. "I understand the cost. I chose it." That was it. No apology, no regret. Ethan felt something shift. Not relief, clarity. He stepped back. "Goodbye, Marcus." Marcus watched him leave, uncertain. Outside, the air felt colder. Ethan walked without direction, the city moving around him. The files waited. The choice remained. But now it was different. He knew Marcus would never feel the weight the same way. Revenge would punish, not teach. It would burn, not heal. Back home, Ethan sat at the desk again. He opened the laptop. His finger hovered over the send button. The urge rose fast. End it. Balance the scales. Prove the truth. Then he closed the file. He deleted the draft. Not in anger. Not in fear. In control? The silence afterward was deep and unsettling. He expected relief. It didn't come. Instead, grief returned, steady and honest. He let it sit. He didn't fight it. Days passed, then weeks. Marcus's world continued. So did Ethan's. He took consulting work, smaller projects, honest ones. He rebuilt quietly, learning where trust should stop and boundaries begin. Bitterness faded slowly. Some nights it returned, but it no longer ruled him. One evening, Ethan burned the old notebook. The pages curled and darkened, taking memories with them. Not erased, but released. He thought about revenge, often not as an action, but as a question. It promised power, but demanded permanence. It offered control, but chained the heart to the past. Ethan chose movement instead. Months later, he passed the same hall where Marcus once spoke. A new event filled the space. New voices, new promises. Life continued, indifferent to old wounds. Ethan kept walking. The betrayal had changed him, but it had not defined him. He had stood at the edge and stepped back, not because Marcus deserved mercy, but because Ethan deserved peace. Revenge would have ended a story, walking away allowed. A new one to begin.